My people, welcome to I'm a Patriot TV, our morning show, the best show of all shows. And we are having muffins for breakfast. I'm not going to say who made them because nobody sponsored them. We had to buy them. And I told you, I've called you a lot of times. I said, if you bake, you cook, you do anything, come and visit us. Come with your stuff. Let's show off your brand. As you see, we unbranded today because nobody came. So if you are a Kasi, business, you do something, you bake, you're into business, you're into cooking, give us a shout. Let's have you on our show. But today we've got something different. We've been having a lot of information coming out from the ground there. And as you know, I'm a Patriot is part of civil movements. Now we've got our guests coming in here because we need some clarity going out there on what is happening with this entire presidential move called the presidential dialogue. So we're hearing these great things happening. There's a lot of information, but South Africa is not informed. So today we said, let us dedicate today's show just to ensure South Africa is informed. So we want to give you information. We want to give you access to this information because if we don't do it, nobody will. So welcome to Breakfast Tuesdays. And we've got our guest who I'm not going to introduce. He's going to introduce himself because this is a real patriot. A person who really moves civil organizations to get things going. So over to you, my guest. Introduce yourself to South Africa and let them know who you are.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Gordons. I really appreciate the time that I'm going to spend with you here. And morning, South Africans. My name is Mick Mavundla. I'm the national convener of Abahambe National Civic Movement. Today, we're going to speak to South Africans and to give them an insight as to what is happening in the country, all the hanabalu that is going around there, so that South Africans can stay informed and South Africans can understand what is happening with their country and where is the country going from now.
Interesting. Abahambe. You know, when I hear Abahambe, I think of Gaten McKenzie jumping in the stadium. Abahambe, Abahambe. Is that how you were born? Tell us how you came about.
Abahambe came to being, and its existence was actually influenced by a number of circumstances that took place within the country. You know, there's so many waves that are taking place, so many influences. And there was a situation where we found ourselves in one of the organizations which was actually preaching and advocating the very same sentiments regarding to immigration and the influx of foreigners, our porous borders, which were actually ignored by politicians and the government that is currently governing the country. However, there were such unforeseen circumstances that took place. So some of our leaders were expelled from that particular organization without affording them an opportunity to present their case. So there was a lot that actually took place, which compelled us to actually do what we call consultative conferences around the country, and especially we started in Gauteng, whereby we actually told the South African the truth about what actually transpired, what happened, and the leaders were actually given a platform to actually give South Africans the experience which they went through and the circumstances that led to their expulsion from that particular organization, which I'm not at liberty to name the name of that organization for legal point of view, because the cases, some of the cases are sub judice, which are still being entertained by the courts and all of that. Yeah. So upon visiting various communities and constituencies, a decision was made to actually form a true movement that will reflect and represent the aspirations and the desires of South Africans, especially South African citizens. Because South Africa currently is facing a situation whereby there's high unemployment, there's a backlog in housing, there's a high crime rate that is not being actually attended to, and people needed a voice. And people needed a platform whereby they will express themselves independently and freely so, without any fear or favor. So now a resolution was made, which was called a GP resolution, to say we are going to form a civic movement which will comprise of ordinary South Africans representing South Africans, and the registration of that particular movement will be owned by society, but not by particular individuals. So that's how Abahambe National Civic Movement was born, and it was launched last year on the 27th of July, 2024 at GP. And this is where we are. We're saying Abahambe. Abahambe meaning let them go back to where they are coming from. We have situation in this country. As South Africans, we want to discuss our domestic issues. So when we discuss our domestic issues, we cannot discuss our domestic issues with people that we don't know. There's so many people that are undocumented in the country, which are contributing to various things that are actually happening. But now, the government is ignoring these legitimate things that are happening, that are actually confronting South Africans, which result into socio-economical ills that South Africans are confronted with.
You know, when you say you launched last year, and I look at how much you've achieved, it makes me go, wow. And this is a civic movement.
Yeah.
Now, when we say civic movement, South Africa needs to know what's the difference between a civic movement and a political party.
The difference between a civic movement and a political party, political party is actually guided by the South African Electoral Act of 1998, which there are certain things that a political party can do, and a political party can influence policies in parliament. But a civic movement is a pressure group which enforces and implements the laws of the country, which it doesn't have jurisdiction. Where government fails in terms of service delivery, in terms of unemployment, in terms of influx of illegal immigrants, employment of illegal immigrants, flouting and not following the laws of the country, that's where civic organizations come in to say. They act like whistleblowers, and they keep government and government officials to account.
Fantastic. Now, let's get into the crux of things. The president has started the national dialogue, which brings us here today.
Yes.
Because South Africans want to understand, how is this working? How are we involved? Is it politicians that's going to talk? The president once said, this is going to be a dialogue by the people, from the people. Yes. So we want to hear from the people. Now, as civic organization or civic movements, what is your position on that? What has happened? Have you been engaged? Is there any developments? What is going on? Have you been invited to the dialogues? Give us an update, because we're in the dark. We don't know what's happening. And like every South African, we want to know. And knowing our president, we'll know one day, and not anytime soon.
Sure. Thank you very much. In actual fact, the national dialogue, its aim and objective is to involve South Africans from across the board in South Africa. This is what we call South African national dialogue, not an international dialogue. People must understand. This is South African dialogue. Since 1994, from the dawns of democracy, South Africa has not reflected about the achievement of the democracy that we achieved in 1994. There's so many things that have transpired along the way. So the citizens of this country are now tired that they have been vesting their votes every time and giving their votes to politicians to go and change their lives. But 30 years down the line, the lives of South Africans have not changed. So this national dialogue plays a significant role, whereby various segments of society are going to be brought under one roof to talk about what is really, or what has really gone wrong, and what can we do to shape the future of the country. So as civic organizations, that's where we play an important role. Yes, we're invited as civic movements to participate into this dialogue. Remember, civic movements are actually representing various communities from different political affiliates under one roof. So civic movements have got more of representation than political parties, because political parties are policy based. They only go there to push their policies in order to get their votes
mandates.
and their mandates. Whereas civic movements are looking at an ordinary life of an ordinary Magoko there in the street, an ordinary grandpa, a child that cannot have access to education, a mother who cannot have access to healthcare services, and our elderly people who are battling to get their social grants on a monthly basis. That's where civic movements come in. So now we are going to have this dialogue in order to break down all the socio-economic challenges that we are facing as a people, as citizens, and as the custodian of the democracy that we enjoyed since 1994.
Okay, so you received your invite. What was your role? How are you expected to contribute? Is there anything that you need us to do? How do we find out what's going on? Give us an update. What's been happening? We've been hearing nothing, and that's why we brought you here today, because South Africa wants to know.
Okay, basically what is happening is that there's going to be steering committees that are going to be formed. There are sectors where each sector will have a steering committee in order to deal with matters that are actually constituted within that steering committee. For example, there will be a steering committee on immigration that will focus specifically on immigration. So within that part, civic organizations are invited to actually play a role and have their representative within that sector, whereby we are going to unfold and unpack the challenges that comes with immigration in the country, because immigration, it's a core foundation of a democratic country everywhere in the world. Because if you get immigration wrong, number one, it's going to affect your economy. Number two, is going to affect your crime statistics and education and all those kind of things. So once you sort out the immigration issue within a country, then we have built a foundation for future generation to actually grow and thrive within that particular sector.
Okay. No, fantastic. So the sector has already been established. We saw a media statement that was released, and I assume you are part of it.
Yes.
And I'm a Patriot is part of it. A media statement was released about some discrepancies in the election process, and also the leadership of that sector. Maybe you can give us an update on what.
Today. That's quite interesting. South Africa is a country with there's so many things that are happening in this country, and sometimes you wake up in the morning, you'll never even get surprised that you find another man marrying another man. This is South Africa for you. What actually happened here was that there was this invitation that was done in the immigration sector to pull out all the progressive forces, which are civic movements, to come and elect or nominate a steering committee which will actually oversee the processes that will be taking place within the country in relation to contribution by communities on how do they feel with the current situation that is affecting the country on immigration. Okay. So now we had a situation whereby a particular organization imposed itself in a sector where it does not belong to. Okay. And subsequently assumed the chairmanship of that sector. Okay. And when the processes unfolded of nomination, there was a contravention of what constitute that sector in terms of procedure and in terms of constitution and the requirements. of participation by various organizations, more especially political parties, actually came in to claim the status of being the one that actually pushed for the immigration sector to be included in the national dialogue. That was the first instance. The second instance was that due to that, they imposed themselves, the leader of Operation Tutula, to become the chairperson of that sector, bringing in her own constituencies or members to become part of the nomination process to influence the outcome of the election. So now, the civic movements had a problem with it, in that they questioned the status of Operation Tutula, and the civic movements were not happy about the processes that transpired and that took place within. Therefore, there was a dispute that was put forward to get clarification from the National Organizing Committee, which is the COC, the Convention on Organizing the National Dialogue, to give clarity about the status of Operation Tutula within the civic space and the role of Operation Tutula within that civic space. Because the understanding was that if Operation Tutula is a registered political party, it should be in a sector whereby political parties have formulated their own sector. And on that note, the constitution and the process of the national dialogue stipulates that political parties cannot conflict with civic movements or organizations. Yes. So that's where the dispute came in.
Okay.
And we needed clarity with regards to that.
Now, how many organizations, civic movements are actually in dispute of this?
The civic organization that are actually, the numbers now as we count, it's about 21 organizations, but initially was 16 civic organizations.
And how many attended the actual convention for election?
The one that attended, we had about 15 that attended but within the process, they pulled out because they realized that the processes that were taking place were unfairly, because it could not give them space and time for them to organize themselves and even to get their own representation into that sector, to be able to formulate a quorum whereby civic movement can be represented within that immigration sector.
And I believe there were some people also claiming to be from certain organizations, and yet nobody knows them from the leadership of those organizations.
Yes, of course. There were people that actually what they were doing. They were conniving against the civic movement to give legitimacy to Operation Tutula, for it to become the ultimate leader in this process, whereby it will represent the civic movements as a political party.
Now, the notion that is going out there is that civic organizations or civic movements are actually now in loggerheads with Utudula, and they are fighting Tutula. What is your take on that?
No, nobody's fighting Operation Tutula. Nobody's fighting Operation Tutula. We appreciate the fact that Operation Tutula is advocating the same message as the civic movement, and Operation Tutula has the same objective as the civic organization. The only bone of contention is the status of Operation Tutula. As a political party, we feel that Operation Tutula must go and participate with other political parties, drive the same message, drive the same objectives, and so that they can have a policy influence in a political space whereby all political parties have convened themselves in. But now, Operation Tutula doesn't want to go to that space. It wants to to be in the space of civic movements, which is something that is unconstitutional, as I've said, and it's something which, when you go and read the guidelines of the national dialogue in terms of the composition of the sectors, it states exactly that you cannot be a political party and want to participate in a civic space. Civic organization must be in one sector, and they must be able to drive their aims and objectives within that sector, and political parties should actually do the same. Nobody's fighting Operation Tutula with regards to this. It's just the difference of understanding and the conflating and misrepresentation of facts that are being disputed.
Now that's interesting to say. Now, I saw the letter that was written on behalf of all these civic organizations that laid their disputes, and I believe there was also a mediation process. And Operation Tutula, if they come back and they say, but they are registered as both a political party and a civic organization, what would be then the dynamics that will change the landscape here?
Okay, yeah, that letter that was written by the civic movements was actually escalated to the attention of the National Organizing Committee of the National Dialogue, which they responded to. And they suggested that in order for us to move forward, there needs to be a mediator that will come and understand what are the issues and how do we move forward once we've agreed on resolving the issues. That mediation took place, and when the mediation took place, there was an interesting thing that happened there. The mediator actually asked Operation Tutula to clarify its position.
I think I remember there was another Operation Tutula as well.
Yes,
there was Tutula,
that's quite interesting.
And then there was Operation Tutula. So there was that confusion there.
Initially, what happened after the mediator requested that Operation Tutula clarifies its position, Operation Tutula said, yes, we are a political party, but we are operating as a civic movement, which is quite interesting. Because now, how do you get your bread buttered on both sides? You are a political party, but you play in a civic movement space, and there was other developments which actually transpired, where the leader of Operation Tutula contradicted herself, whereby there was what we call Tutula Alexander. And at some point she said, no, that Tutula, it's us, it's part, but now there's one gentleman that came in and clarified the position of Tutula Alexander, which was established in 1995. So now, as we all know, that Operation Tutula was established in 2019 and registered as a civic movement in 2020 or 2021. And in 2023, Operation Tutula took a resolution in April to register as a political party and to contest the 2024 national general elections. So that is very much interesting because we know the history, we understand. So they tried to adopt something that does not belong to them. And there's another Tutula, which is Tutula Northwest and Tutula Tshwane. There's quite a lot of them. Yes. That's where now we need a clarification, and now a decision was made to say, now, in order for us to move forward, the mediator decided that let's escalate the matter to the EPG to make a decision and clarification with regards to Operation Tutula.
As a political party. Being involved in the civic space. So if I get you correctly, the civic organizations are saying, we don't mind working with Operation Tutula. Here is Operation Tutula. There is Tutula Alexander, Tutula Tshwane, Tutula, you name it. They are here as civic movements.
Yes.
But Operation Tutula as a political party, we have a bit of a problem with. Because as a political party in a civic space,
yes,
we are then going to be withdrawn from being who we want to be.
Of course.
So that's the challenge. If they are registered as both a political party and a civic movement, that means it must send its delegate, who is in charge of the civic movement, to be part of the civic formation, not its political party leader.
Yeah, because you cannot have a political head heading the presidency of both organizations. It doesn't even it's actually it's unheard of. It has never been. We have organizations in this country which have a political registered as a political party, but having civic movements. And typical example of that will be the FF Plus, as we know it. But the FF Plus is not even getting involved in this space where we are. So that is the clarification that we are waiting for. We're still waiting for the outcome of that. And once the outcome, it will give us direction as to how we move forward.
That is interesting. So South Africa, you've heard it for yourself and you've got the understanding. The civic organizations are not fighting Operation Dudula. They are fighting for their voices to be heard without being conflated by political existence. They want an opportunity to speak and be heard on their own. So we've now understood what this halabaloo is all about, as my commander, as they refer to themselves. Abahambe Mavundla said, we are not fighting Dudula. We are working with Dudula. Yes. And I've seen most of the things that you guys do. Abahambe sometimes goes with Dudula, like the clinics. It is yourself,
of course.
It is PA, it is Dudula, it is a whole lot of other
Action SA, MK,
and all that.
And all of
so
that.
You go there in these things together. So there is no way somebody can come back and say you are fighting them.
No.
Because when you have a common cause, you move together.
Yes.
I know many of the people that see Patriotic Alliance also there, they then ask, but you don't have a problem with Patriotic Alliance. And I think it's because they have not come to this sector where it is civic organizations only.
Yes.
They participate the political space.
Correctly so.
So, guys, I think we've heard it from the horse's mouth. We've heard it from the people that are complaining about it. It is about 20-odd civic organizations that are saying we cannot have a political party influence and direct the sector for civic movements and civic organizations. And I think no amount of explanation could actually dilute the facts on the table. And I think the most important one also in your letter that I read, it was talking about the process of election, where the person who was nominated to constitute the formation is the one who chaired it and then was nominated and elected again.
Correctly.
I think the mediator even highlighted that there is no such a thing. Procedurally, it is flawed and there has to be a re-election. So we are anticipating that the sector will be reformed, restructured, and once there is clarification coming from the executive structures, which is APG, then we would know which way to go from there. So at the moment, we are saying civic movements, you are moving the ground. But I want to touch on something, and I want to hear from you. I have not seen a platform where civic organizations are actually given an opportunity to air themselves. I have not seen a platform where civic organizations can be given platforms like these, where they can share their views and mobilize and talk and share what is happening. How does that feel? Even media ignores you. I saw a media statement.
Yes. And
there was no invitation except from Alex FM. Other than that, which is going to be tomorrow, if I'm correct. So tune in tomorrow morning, Alex FM, between 7 and 7:30. There will be civic organizations. We have got nominations that will be talking on Alex FM. Tune into Alex FM so get a confirmation of what we are talking about. Because civic movements are starting to be listened to because they are starting to get a voice. But how does it feel as a civic movement in South Africa and you are not given airtime?
Actually, on that point, it's very painful. And to suppress the voice that stands for the voiceless. And due to these bureaucratic red tapes that are being put by politicians, I would say politicians, because those are the people that are running what must be done, what must be said in this country. And it is there, it is in the open. Because once you raise issues and issues of constitutional issues, of illegality that politicians are involved in terms of service delivery, in terms of tender fraud and this mafia, construction mafias and all that. Those are things that are affecting society because the money that is being looted in that space, it's money that should have been invested into the delivery of South African citizens. So now, civic movements are the ones that are actually advocating and becoming the voices of the voiceless to ensure that service delivery and all other constitutional issues are actually implemented and enforced. Even the media in South Africa is controlled by the elite, by those who have money. So civil society do not have money. That is why we are even struggling to actually get funding in order to advance the objectives and advocate the situation that South African people are facing in terms of the socio-economic challenges that they are facing on a daily basis. So it is at that point where we say it's time that as various civic organizations, we must come together. We reshape how we confront these issues, because we have the common objective of advancing the challenges that society is facing. So now we are currently speaking to various entities, the media spaces, in order to ensure that our voices are heard. And the national dialogue as well is a right platform to rise up and say there is a problem. Civic society is not given enough audience in terms of the viewership and in terms of ensuring that everything that we fight for is actually exposed and everyone can actually see for themselves that what is it that the challenges of our people are facing on the ground.
Fantastic. So, you heard it there. And there are many other civic movements and organizations that would want to be part of this immigration sector. It has not yet been constituted legally, and therefore it has not yet been endorsed. Therefore, there's an opportunity to join forces. Let us come in large numbers, and let us form a force that will be formidable. I know that the latest inclusion now has been a researcher who has joined the team, which makes it, that means we are becoming really a force to be reckoned with. So the team is growing. But to you South Africans out there, we also want to make a call out to you. Movements like Abahambe, movements like I'm a Patriot and all others, they don't survive on these big donations and support like political parties do, but they survive on contributions from the communities. So therefore their constituencies are those 20 rands, 10 rands, 5 rands, 100 rands, or whatever contributions that are given by civil societies to say, guys, keep fighting the fight. So when we stand up and fight for the people we stand and represent, it is just for those people. Mama ofagu 10 rand, ubaba ofagu 5 rand, a pension 50 rand that we contributed. Those are the reasons you see the fight that is being fought. So it has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with wanting to dominate a certain sector. It's wanting to have a free space to air our feeling of the people and making it out there. Now on the last note, how do people reach you?
As the National Dialogue or as
both? Remember, you've been deployed.
Yes.
By the National Dialogue immigration sector civil movements that have combined and gathered themselves. They've asked you to be here as well. So maybe give us contact details if people want to join the immigration sector, who can they reach out to? And also as Abahambe, remember, this is what we are.
Yeah.
We share these things. We want people to know. We want our organizations to grow. When you grow, we grow, everyone grows. So how do they reach out?
Okay, I will leave my number. My number is 068-089-2796.
Repeat it again, just slowly.
068-089-2796. And that's where to reach me. Then I'll be able to redirect you as to how do you reach the National Dialogue and how do you become part. And as well, there's a social platform whereby we advertise these contact numbers, including the website of the National Dialogue, where people can tap in and actually go in and see what is happening for me.
And I know that there's also a criteria for movements to join. They have to have registration numbers. They have to be formulated. They must have leadership. They must have logos.
Of course.
And there's a vetting form that they just complete. Once they've completed that, they send in the logos, and we're all good to go. Because the more they are, the more voices we represent.
Yes,
and it's across all sectors. It's across all spectrums. Whether you are in Limpopo, whether you are in Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, eConco, all the way eMuthu, eMsinga, kwaMhlabiyalingana, eQhudeni, all over.
All
As
over
long
the
as you are a
country.
civil movement and you would want to be part of this and you want to reach out and gather with us, send a reach out. I will also give you the support email for I'm a Patriot, which is support@imapatriot.co.za. Send an email to Ntando, who is also one of the conveners of the sector, who have been nominated to actually represent the civic movements in this, and they are the communicating parties. And you can also reach out via cell phone, via WhatsApp to Abahambe Mavundla here, so that we can actually coordinate and make sure that you have access to the right information. So here it is, South Africa. Breakfast Tuesdays on a Thursday, bringing something different, bringing civic organizations who want to change and shape SA. So we've not gone off the topic. We're still breaking fast and we're still sharing. And like I said, I still invite people at any time. Use our email, use our WhatsApp number that is reflecting on the screen. Contact us, talk to us. Let us see how we can host you. And like I say, my table needs food, guys. How do I have breakfast without breakfast? Last time I had was a sandwich, which was ikoko sandwich. And there I'm eating muffins. Come on, guys. You can do better than this. Let's make this table decorated. I want to see the stove sizzling and everything happening. We thank you very much, and let's hope to see you again. Abahambe Mavundla, thank you so much.
Much appreciated.
We are excited to be part of this movement, and we are glad. On a lighter note, like, subscribe, and follow us. Those follows create a better algorithm for us so that we can go viral. So the more you like us, the more you subscribe, the more viral we become, and the more we can give you. We are coming up with something exciting. We'll do something and we will share it with you, but we will not disclose it now. But what I'm saying, there is something coming on I'm a Patriot TV. Our network will introduce something just for civic movements.
Thank you very
Called
much.
My Civic Duty. This is going to be a platform where all civic organizations can have their say and they can have their part of this democracy. So where they close the doors, we open them. So I'm a Patriot is there for that. We're not going to keep quiet when the media silences us. We're going to use what we have and put it out there to create it. So the cry of civic organizations who have not been given platforms, have not been given an audience, there has been heard. And I'm a Patriot TV is committing itself to starting a special show. We're still going to find a good host, and it's going to be called My Civic Duty. We want to go to every corner of society, and we will be following this immigration sector. We'll be recording every engagement so South Africa can know what is happening. So that tells us that our pockets need to be deep. So those people who need to dig deep in their pockets, I'm a Patriot, call us on support, and give us your support and throw in there so that we can reach out to the communities at large. We thank you and see you next time. Abahambe Mavundla, your parting shots to our people.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Siyabonga.
Much appreciated.